Thank you for your participation to the event on exploring cooperation in bioenergy, India-Japan collaboration, Global Biofuel Alliance today. 本日はバイオエネルギーにおける協力関係を探る日印協力グローバルバイオ燃料アライアンスにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。First, I would like to request His Excellency Mr. Shibi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make inaugural address. はじめに駐日インド大使シビ・ジョージ閣下より海外ご挨拶をいただきます。
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Yuki Sadamitsu, Director General, Natural Resources and Fuel Department, Agency for Natural Resources and Energy, Ministry of Economy, Trade, Industry, Government of Japan. Our distinguished speakers who are joining virtually from India, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, a very good evening to you all. I welcome you all to this seminar captioned Exploring Cooperation in Bioenergy, India-Japan Collaboration, Global Biofuels Alliance. I thank Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan for joining us today. I also thank Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, Invest India and Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, for partnering with us today. This seminar is part of a series of seminars that we organize in Japan to connect various stakeholders in our India-Japan strategic and global partnership. Dear friends, in recent years, India-Japan relationship has transformed into a special strategic and global partnership launched in 2014 under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, and former Prime Minister late Shinzo Abe of Japan. The prophetic words confluence of two seas by late Prime Minister Abe continue to resonate when we work towards a free, open, and rule-based Indo-Pacific. This special partnership continues to flourish under the leadership of Prime Minister His Excellency Mr. Kishida and Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. Today, India-Japan partnership within the bilateral and plurilateral framework like the Quad is key to stability and freedom in Indo-Pacific, which faces several challenges. Dear friends, last year, 2023, has been a special year in India-Japan relationship, as India and Japan served as the chair of G20 and G7 respectively. There has been hundreds of delegations from all across the world visited India to participate in over 200 G20 related meetings held all over India. Each of these delegations, including those from Japan, returned with one message: India has transformed. India has changed. What they saw is a new India. Its infrastructure has changed. Its vision has changed. Its business environment has changed. Its digital transformation is significant. Today, it is world's fastest growing economy. Some of our friends, including Japanese friends, used to say India needs to become more business friendly. I am happy to state that India has changed. It's a new India. The world is coming to India, investing in India. Today, India is a land of billion opportunities. I invite our Japanese friends to grab these opportunities. Dear friends, one of these major changes in India is in the energy sector. Currently, India ranks as the third largest energy consumer globally. We are on a rapid trajectory to becoming a 5 trillion GDP US dollars GDP economy by 2025. Consequently, our energy demand is poised to grow exponentially. It is estimated that India alone will account for around 25% of the global energy incremental demand growth between 2020 and 2040, the largest incremental share by any country. The government of India has taken a pragmatic and astute middle path that underscores commitment to mitigating climate change while supporting national commitment, while supporting national interests and meeting India's energy demand. India's broad diversification of its energy policy will help facilitate enhanced energy security. Towards this, the government of India has taken several steps. including transformational policy reforms, while focusing on waves of future, that is non-conventional energy, including biofuels, compressed biogas, green hydrogen, solar and wind. The stage is set for India to share Indian experience in biofuels, which is also a story to support its agriculture sector. From a meager 1.5% biofuels blending in 2014, India achieved 10% blending of ethanol petrol in 2022, which was well ahead of the November 2022 deadline. India has also advanced its target of 20% ethanol blending in petrol from 2030 and has brought the target 5 years earlier. This has helped in boosting farmers' income with the payment of over US dollars 8.7 billion and also in lowering carbon dioxide emission by more than 40 million metric tons in the last decade. Underscoring importance of biofuels towards energy transition, India, along with leaders of 8 countries, launched the Global Biofuels Alliance during the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. The GBA, Global Biofuels Alliance, is a multi-stakeholder alliance of governments, international organizations, and industries, which is intended to expedite the global uptake of biofuels. India now stands committed to achieve net zero by 2070, reaching its non-fossil energy capacity of 500 gigawatts and meeting 50% of our energy requirements for renewable energy by 2030. Today, India has become world's third largest producer of renewable energy, with 40% of our installed electricity capacity coming from non-fossil fuel sources, achieving the commitment of intended national determined contribution of COP21 ahead of target of 2030 in 2021. We enjoy the lowest cost of large-scale solar power in the world, so is the cost of wind power. India launched a national green hydrogen mission with a target of producing 5 million metric tons by 2030, making India a global hub for the production, usage, and export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. Dear friends, at the bilateral level, our clean energy partnership with Japan focuses on clean energy and green technologies, which is expected to include increased collaboration in electric vehicles, batteries, green hydrogen, ammonia, etc. We have launched Japan India Clean Energy Partnership, Japan India Energy Dialogue, Japan India Environmental Policy Dialogue. We are making progress in each of these sectors. Dear friends, before I conclude, I would like also to refer to Life Mission, Lifestyle for Environment, a key mission by India into combating climate change. The mission aligns with our cultural ethos of safeguarding one earth, caring for our one family, and striving for a sustainable one future. Captured precisely by India's G20 presidency logo, One Earth, One Family, One Future. One of the important messages of the G20 Delhi Declaration was also on climate change. We had a major event here in Tokyo to celebrate Life Mission recently, with some of you have attended. The vision of life is to live a lifestyle that is in tune with our planet and does not harm it, calling it for a shift from the GDP centric view of the world to a human centric view, inspiring 1.4 billion people to imbibe the values of nature and to contribute to combat climate change. I would like to once again convey my sincere thanks to all the participants for joining us today as, as we work towards further strengthening our India Japan strategic and global partnership. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir, for your address. Next, I would like to request Mr. Yuki Sadamitsu, Director General, Natural Resource and Fuel Department, Agency for Natural Resource and Energy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Government of Japan, to make a presentation. 続きまして、経済産業省資源エネルギー庁資源燃料部長、定家祐樹様よりご講演いただきます。
Dear His Excellency Mr. C.B. George and other distinguished guests, good afternoon. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk about Japanese energy policy. First of all, I would like to appreciate Indian government's initiative to launch the Global Biofuel Alliance. And Japan is participating in this alliance as an observer, and we are looking forward to exchanging views and discussing ways to promote collaboration under this framework. Next slide, please. Today, I would like to introduce Japanese energy policy, and I would like to talk about some of our expectations on promoting India-Japan collaboration. Next slide, please. These are the three principles of Japanese energy policy. Green transformation, GX, is the top priority in Japan's energy policy. Firstly, it aims to achieve the three objectives: emission reduction, economic growth, and energy security. We would like to achieve them simultaneously. Second, we believe the goal of carbon neutrality is the same across countries, but there should be multiple pathways to achieve it based on geography and energy endowments of each country. Ways to net zero are different. For example, India has rich renewable resources, and also coal resources are very rich. On the other hand, Japan lacks plain places suitable for renewables, and Japan is poorly endowed with fossil fuels. And the role of technology is also important. Japan's global share of global greenhouse gas is just 3%, but we'd like to provide solutions outside Japan. Next slide, please. In December, Japan issued investment strategy for 16 areas essential for GX. Innovative technologies, including perovskite solar cells, ammonia single-fuel gas turbine, and solid-state battery are included. For hard-to-abate sectors, we will promote steel making using hydrogen and petrochemical production from bioethanol. To subsidize these technologies, Japan issued recently climate transition bonds, a new type of JGB, which I will elaborate on later. Also, modeling after the US Inflation Reduction Act, new tax incentive to reduce corporate tax in proportion as production amount of clean products will be applied to clean vehicles, clean steel, chemicals, sustainable aviation fuel, and semiconductors. Next slide, please. By combining various incentives and regulatory measures, our GHG target is 46% reduction in 2030 and to achieve net zero by 2050. Next slide, please. We will utilize pro-growth carbon pricing scheme. Our overall target is to mobilize about $1 trillion amount of public and private investment for green transformation in the coming 10 years. As I mentioned, we will issue climate transition bond which amounts to about 132 billion US dollars over 10 years. As a first step, about $11 billion will be issued this year. In order to redeem this bond, we will introduce two revenue schemes. First, we start emission trading system from 2026. From 2033, auctioning will be started for the power generation sector. And the second revenue will be the introduction of surcharge on fossil fuels, which starts at 2028. Next slide, please. This is a noisy chart, but the list of areas where support by Green Transformation Transition Bond will be applied. This covers manufacturing, transportation, including automobiles, batteries, and SAF, energy sector, including hydrogen and its derivatives, meaning ammonia, e-methane, and e-fuels, and so on. Next slide, please. And let me touch upon Japan's target for renewable energy. If you look at the primary energy mix target on the left side, current share of renewable is roughly 12% or so. We are planning to increase this share up to 22 or 23% by 2030, including wind, solar, and biomass. Also, we will plan to achieve 1% from hydrogen and ammonia. We need to increase the share of nuclear as well. This is a very challenging task, and the combination of incentives, regulatory framework, and international collaboration is necessary. Next slide, please. Let me mention Japan's approach to decarbonize the automobile sector. As I mentioned at the beginning, multiple pathway is important in this context as well. We should utilize various energy sources and powertrains, such as EVs, fuel cell vehicles, and hybrid cars. PHVs can be used both for EVs and international combustion engine. In particular, we emphasize the role of carbon neutral fuels, such as biofuel and e-fuels, for cars with internal combustion engines. This fuel can play important role to decarbonize existing fleet of cars and can utilize existing infrastructure, such as refinery plant and service stations. Next slide, please. In terms of biofuels, as Ambassador mentioned, we utilize biofuels as an alternative to gasoline. We have a quota system for bioethanol. Current quota is 0.5 million kiloliter per year. And this amounts to roughly 2% of the total gasoline market. Compared to India, it's not so large. We are importing feedstocks for this bioethanol from US and Brazil. We think it is necessary to review the role of bioethanol, considering business sector's interest to address Scope 3 emissions. We think Japan has a lot to learn from India on how to expand bioethanol, avoiding too much cost increase for service station infrastructure or service station operators. Next slide, please. In terms of biofuel, SAF is a promising area. As written in the column in the right below, we are planning to set a mandatory target to utilize 10% of SAF in 2030. In order to achieve this, we are mobilizing various support measures as described in the left column, including support for technological development, subsidy for SAF production facilities, 30 yen per liter tax credit, as I mentioned earlier. To reduce SAF, establishing feedstock supply chain is important. And I hear India has good potential for animal fats and fast-growing plants. I hope business collaboration between India and Japan will develop in this area as well. Next slide, please. In conclusion, let me make 3 remarks. First, Japan values pragmatic approach in achieving energy transition, and we should have multiple pathways, including biofuels. Second, Japan would like to establish robust supply chain for decarbonization fuels, including hydrogen ammonia, e-fuels, and SAF. I believe there is significant room for international collaboration. Third, as for SAF, we expect Japan-India business dialogue will be expanded to build stable feedstock supply chain. This concludes my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Now we would like to show you a video on building energy security with biofuels. ここ
Energy from oil and gas keeps India moving, but we import most of it. It is in our nation's interest to reduce our dependence on import of oil and gas. India has a well-crafted strategy of creating and using biofuels, alternative sources of energy that are grown. Today, we produce 1G ethanol and 2G ethanol from sugarcane waste and blend this with petrol. We are gearing to convert our waste to useful biofuel with sources as varied as corn, bamboo, rice straw, and maize. We are producing biodiesel and aviation fuel from used cooking oil and palm stearin. We are producing compressed biogas from waste. Government incentives create a virtuous cycle, a waste to energy economy. This boosts energy security, farmer incomes, and rural entrepreneurship. This also promotes clean and sustainable energy. India has 2G ethanol biorefineries in advanced stage of construction in Bhatinda, Bargarh, Numaligarh, and Gorakhpur. Plans call for the setting up of 12 new 2G biorefineries at an investment of 140 billion rupees. India is extending financial support of nearly 20 billion rupees for integrated bioethanol projects under the PM Jeevan Yojana. As the nation marches ahead, India's thrust on development of biofuels is necessary to ensure its energy security.
Next, I would like to request Mr. George Thomas, Deputy Secretary, International Cooperation, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, to make a presentation virtually. 続きまして、インド石油天然ガス省課長国際協力、ジョージ・トーマス様よりオンラインでご講演いただきます。スクリーンをご覧くださいませ。
and those depending on imports. Yet, at the same time, there is a recognition to ensure that our development supports the environment and protects the future generations. Therefore, countries like India and Japan not only have to deal with the dual challenge of a just, orderly, and inclusive energy transition, but also of ensuring energy security to all its citizens. Secondly, there is no single low carbon pathway to development, and no single solution can be the panacea to all problems of energy transition. Certain sectors, certain solutions have certain advantages, while others have different means and different abilities. Therefore, any solution should look at the national priorities, national circumstances, and those objectives. Now, in this broad framework, biofuels offers a boutique of solutions and is a critical path for decarbonizing of fossil fuels and provides a compelling narrative not only for developing but also for developed countries. Not only do they work by lowering greenhouse gas emissions, they also reduce import dependency, boost energy security, and enable circularity, thus delivering wider socio-economic benefits. Interestingly, in some cases, as has been touched upon, it is the only low-carbon pathway to development. SAF, or sustainable aviation fuel, being one of the best examples of this. As they act as drop-in fuels, are technically compatible with existing infrastructure and delivery systems. Secondly, the unique pathways of biofuels also helps resolve many challenges. A good example is waste accumulation, including used municipal solid waste, used cooking oil, and industrial waste, which can be repurposed to new products, which are beneficial not only for the environment, but also bring in new economic benefits. Now, I have put up three stats from three different international organizations, which gives us the challenge before us. All of them agree that biofuel production, deployment, and development has to be ramped up. In some cases, IEA says, depending on various scenarios, by 2x and in some cases to 4x. According to Bioenergy Outlook, by around 2 to 2.5x. ICAO estimates that the current SAF production is 600 million liters, and it has to be increased by 1,000 times to 600 billion. Therefore, there is a need to bring in collective and concerted action to achieve this. Now, India provides a compelling narrative for pushing this. And why do I say that? In 2014, India's blending percentage was only 1.5%, and we were blending 380 million liters. Now, this may seem a big amount to many of us, but we have to see this in the context of India's growing energy demand, which, as Excellency Ambassador had pointed out, is going to account for between 25 to 28% of in the next 2 to 3 decades. So in this context, in 2014, we were only blending about 380 million liters. Fast forward to 9 years, 10 years, we are now blending close to 5.08 billion liters. And in that, our blending percentage has increased by 12%. Now, why do I say India provides a compelling narrative? It's because in these 10 years, we've created a strong biofuel ecosystem, which is based on our abilities and with an eye on ensuring energy transition and low carbon development. So just to pull out a few facts, in 2020, we began the Govardhan scheme, which we saw that we have strong municipal waste and animal waste, which can be repurposed to CBG plants. Now, India and CBG is very important because India is looking to be a natural gas-based economy. Now, in this context, similar to in Japan, India is also dependent to a large extent on imports. So therefore, we were able to repurpose this demand from imports and create decentralized solutions. The second is we developed a national biofuels policy in 2018, which not only focused on biofuel mandate, but it ensured a strong and viable market, which is also necessary to ensure energy transition remains orderly. We did this through guaranteed pricing, long-term ethanol contracts, technical standards and codes, and financial support. In the process in 2018, we also developed SATAT, Sustainable Alternative to Transportation, which aims to increase the CBG production in the country to 15 million metric tons. Now, this is a very, very ambitious target. But like I say, unless we are ambitious, we will never achieve our targets. In this process, we anticipate to set up 5,000 CBG plants. And currently, we have already set up more than 50, and with production capacities of 340 million metric tons. Now, there are some challenges with production of ethanol. Some may say food versus fuel. However, the way we are working to resolve these dichotomies is not to really consider them as a dichotomy, but to improve the agriculture, one aspect. And the second aspect is to usher in 2G-based ethanol solutions. Like I said in the beginning, ethanol provides a bouquet of solutions, and 2G is a new aspect of them, where rather than using other crops, we use lignocellulosic products. So we have set a target of setting up 12 commercial and demonstrable 2G biofuel plants. I'm happy to say the first one was already completed and has a capacity of 36 million liters and currently uses rice straw. We have 3 more in the works, as you may have seen during the presentations. These look at a whole array of feedstocks because options, availability, and diversity is the flavor of life as well as in the biofuels production. Therefore, the upcoming plants will use varied technology and varied feedstocks like bamboo, would look at paddy straw, rice straw, and corn cob. Through these efforts, we have therefore resulted in these 9 to 10 years, reducing our CO2 emission by 45 million metric tons. We've ensured forex savings of USD $10 billion. We've ensured crude oil substitution of close to 15 million metric tons. Now, our new focus is on 2 new areas, which I think resonate very strongly with our colleagues in Japan, and that is on CBG and SAF. So in SAF, we ourselves have set up targets, of course, not as ambitious as the level as Japan has set, but we are looking at achieving 1% blending by 2027 for international flights and 2% by 2028. We are in the process of setting up 3 production plants, which will have the ability to produce 10 crore liters, which is over 100 million liters. We anticipate that our requirement will be close to 14 million, and would we of ramping up to 19 million. Now, when building from the presentation from our Japanese side, and we have been closely following the various developments that Japan has launched, including the new biogas facility at Sagamihara, including the targets of 10% SAF blending, as well as the idea for carbon neutrality by 2050. India too has set ambitious targets, in spite our requirements of traditional oil and gas and coal and fossil fuels not peaking. We have set a target of achieving net zero by 2070. Now, coming to where do I see a marriage between these 2 aspects? Like I touched upon, the first would be in terms of SAF. So we see India's biopotential, like I said, could even go up to 24 million tons. Now, in this context, if we only require 14 million, that leaves the excess capacities for trade to ensure the benefit arrives at countries around the world. Secondly, we have the capacity utilizing multiple feedstocks, including UCO, including ethanol, for which I said we're already ramping up production, and waste. Now, these technologies are in different stages of maturity. The UCO HEPA HVO pathway is known, and we have various production facilities globally. The production pathway is using ethanol alcohol to jet, which India is also looking to set up. Will are solutions, but we need, like ICAO told us, to ramp up by 1,000 times, which would require multiple use of technology and feedstocks. I think here India and Japan can actually work together to develop multiple technologies, to work on probable and successful feedstock aggregations, to develop joint R&D for exploration, innovative pathways for SAF production, and achieving scalable and viable projects which can be set up in both our countries. You may also be aware that India is one of the fastest growing markets in the world. It has, for the last 10 years, been growing at 10%, almost 2.5 times the global average. The second aspect is on CBG. Now, before I proceed on this, we wholeheartedly welcome the decision of the Suzuki Motors to build 4 biogas refining plants in India, which will begin operation in 2025. The ability for CGD, that's City Gas Distribution India, and CNG CBG synchronization allows industrial consumers, commercial consumers, as well as household consumers to benefit from CBG production. In India, we see our peak capacity at close to 370 million metric tons, with the ability to produce 62 million metric tons. Now, in that context, this can be utilized across multiple sectors, and we could work with Japan to develop more such projects to identify more economical and viable pathways for CBG production, and build on Japan's strong technology for feedstock utilization, including co-digestion of various organic waste. Now, the third aspect is on e-fuels. This allows green hydrogen, which both India and Japan are working to increase the production of, be utilized in various pathways to produce syngas, to produce e-fuels, to allow utilization where the demand is required as well. So rather than need for transportation, which itself creates its own carbon emission footprint, particularly for hydrogen, which requires extremely cold carriers to be able to transport the same, which Japan and Australia have worked on. But nonetheless, let's look at a holistic solution. Let's look at technology pathways to ensure such production where it can be utilized in both India and Japan. India has set an ambitious target of exporting 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen, and is already begun export of green ammonia for the production of green steel. And in this context is working with Germany, with Malaysia and Singapore. Japan, being natural partners, is an area we can focus. Now, the platforms for cooperation are there. India and Japan share a clean energy partnership. We have an Indian energy dialogue, which began in 2007. This has specially targeted emerging fuels, including biofuels and CBG, as well as increased use of LNG. These two areas can work together. We can build on these with the Ministry of Petroleum, Natural Gas and METI. We have a joint working group on hydrocarbons. These could necessarily be placed in these various platforms to ensure scalable solutions are achieved. In terms of multilateral cooperations, again, India and Japan are present in multi-stakeholder meetings, including the IPEF, including the Quad Climate Change, which India is hosting this year, and can work on this through both biofuels, e-fuels, and CBG, as well as the G20. The meetings for the first ETWG were just concluded yesterday under Brazil's presidency, where they've agreed to focus a lot on bioenergy, biofuels, and sustainable low-carbon fuels. The last, and I think is very important, and I've actually saved the best for last, is the Global Biofuels Alliance. We are very thankful for having an able and capable partner like Japan join us. We are looking to build these solutions not only for the developed world, but for the developing world, and as well as nascent countries who are now identifying biofuels as a pathway, including in clean cooking, for which we're working with the African continent. We'll leave 4 or 5 points under the rubric of the Global Biofuels Alliance, which could be the touchstones for future cooperation. I have mentioned some of these before. We are happy to take these on both under the bilateral framework as well as the multilateral framework. The first is to facilitate joint R&D activities. So like I said, a lot of the pathways are well proved, but a lot of the pathways we need to drive down the cost to make them more scalable. This will ensure capacity building exercises, both bilaterally and multilaterally, as well as knowledge sharing. I had shown you the Indian pathway. We are with knowledge on that to showcase a capsulized solution, because like I said, India is a new entrant to this, but has become a major dominant player in this. The second is the harmonizing of standards and codes and regulations, coupled with verification, monitoring, and regulation. This will ensure the creation of a biofuels economy and a trading market which brings sustainability and consistency to markets. The third is identifying bottlenecks in realizing biofuels potential. A few of them were touched upon. Aggregation of feedstock, technology collaboration, creating logistic supply chains. The fourth is on creation of a platform for technical support to national biofuels programs. And lastly, which is the key tenet, is to strengthen biofuels trade. Now, drawing the attention to the PPT, our membership has been growing. We have now 24 strong country members and 12 IOs. We have formed a temporary executive committee, which is working on a work plan. We are very keen to learn from Japanese experience on this. We were proud to showcase Global Biofuels Alliance at COP28, both through an exhibition as well as showcasing the Biofuels Alliance at Burj Khalifa, the image which you're seeing. We are almost ready with a work plan, which we will share with you to identify what challenges we see and how we can address them. With that, I bring my presentation to a close. I once again thank our embassy and the Indian ambassador in Japan for this opportunity, and looking forward for viable and concrete ideas on how to take forward all these initiatives and other initiatives, because our goal is the same: to ensure the temperature remains below 2 degrees Celsius, to do this in a way which strengthens energy security and ensuring that energy transition is both just and orderly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Next, I would like to request Dr. Anil Kumar Singh, Chief Scientist, Head Biofuels Division, Indian Institute of Petroleum, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, to make a presentation virtually. 続きまして、科学技術省科学産業研究機構インド石油研究所バイオ燃料部チーフサイエンティストのアニル・クマール・シンハ様よりご講演いただきます。
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to everyone. And I will be talking today about the Indian biofuel scenario. I come from the CSIR, Indian Institute of Petroleum. We are working in the mostly in the area of hydrocarbons and energy sector. and we have been involved in the biofuel area for more than 20 years today. And most of our activities are aligned with the Global Biofuel Alliance objectives, which is mostly to enhance the global collaboration in terms of sharing the technologies, having advanced technologies to promote sustainable biofuels for transport sector specifically. And also we work on the policy sides of the biofuels, and we have been producing several case studies on best practices for the biofuels. And looking at the benefits of in terms of biofuel, this global biofuel alliance gives more energy to the entire activity on the biofuels in terms of having advanced access to advanced technologies. For example, we have learned from the Brazil case how we can go for the flexi cars, which can go up to 100% of ethanol blending right from 10%. And for better action towards climate CO2 emissions, and also we look towards this less dependence, because India being more dependent on the crude oil, we are looking as biofuel as a way of less dependency on imported crude oil, as well as to support the farmers in the nation. So in terms of biofuels, mostly as we know that the ethanol that is being produced today for blending is the first generation ethanol based on sugar and corn. But we are, as mentioned earlier, we are looking more on the second generation ethanol based on crop residues, which also help in limiting the greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, we have been working strongly on the third generation and fourth generation of feedstocks for making biofuels, like microorganisms such as algae and yeast-derived oils, as well as genetically engineered crops such as carinata and those kind of crops which are actually carbon negative. And I will discuss those in a little bit more detail. So in bioethanol, as I mentioned, we are so far have been using the first generation ethanol, but we are working strongly on the biodiesel and green diesel, as well as the sustainable aviation fuel from mostly from the waste oils like vegetable oil or animal fats. And in addition, it is already mentioned that in the area of biogas, compressed biogas is a major area of research where we have improved technologies to offer. And in addition to the area of biohydrogen, which requires more technological interventions to reduce the cost of biohydrogen. So as we know that due to strong policy interventions, we have been able to have 10% of ethanol blending in year 2022, and we are targeting for 20% ethanol blending by 2025. As I mentioned earlier, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Program in India and specifically in CSR has been very strong since year 2008. And we have developed a technology for HEFA from the HEFA pathway, and we are looking for setting up a large demonstration plant in one of the refineries, and the technology is at the TRL level 7. And the major issue in this HEFA pathway and all pathways for making SAF is the CO2 emissions as defined by the CORSIA of ICAO, that clearly mention the amount of CO2 emissions from different pathways are already set up at a specific level. For example, if we use 1G ethanol from corn grain, the amount of CO2 emitted will be more than even the fossil jet fuel CO2 emissions. So we have to look closely at the kind of feedstocks which can reduce the CO2 emissions, and waste cooking oil or used cooking oil appears to be the most promising one in terms of the CO2 emission limitation control. We had done the first SAF flight based on our own technology. We did a demonstration flight in India, And we have been working closely with the Indian Air Force, and we have done several demonstration and flights with the Indian Air Force in several aircraft. And as I mentioned, we have been working on this SAF technology from year 2008, and we have been gradually improving the technology, bringing it to the TRL level 7. And today we have this fuel certified by Indian Bureau of Indian Standards, and we are right now in the going towards the balloting at the ASTM, and we are working very closely with all the OEMs as well as the aircraft manufacturers to get this technology approved at the ASTM, and we expect it to be approved by the middle of this year. And currently, as I mentioned, we are working towards setting up a demonstration plant. We have a completely renewable diesel technology where neat 100% renewable diesel can be used as a drop-in fuel. And we work towards these feedstock supply chain strengthening. So as we understand, the feedstock forms a major stumbling block in the entire SAF production technology, and we need to find out alternative feedstocks which can be less expensive. So we have identified different feedstocks like used cooking oil, it is, and some tree-borne oils. We are closely working with Forest Research Institute in India, and also we have been identifying short rotation crops like carinata, which we have been doing pilot study on these kind of feedstocks. And currently we have started a pilot project on agri photovoltaic where we combine these short rotation crops along with agri photovoltaic to see how we can have more energy out of the farming sector. And this is an example of what we have done as a short gestation crop using Brassica carinata. We have done about 5 acres of plantation, and we find that this is a very suitable crop, and we can obtain about 12 to 15 tons of seed per hectare using this kind of feedstock. Regarding used cooking oil, we looking at the example of China, which is the largest consumer of used cooking oil, and India being the second largest consumer of used cooking oil. More than 10 million metric tons China is today collecting this used cooking oil. And with the support of FSSI program, we are now working closely on the aggregation of used cooking oil and looking at the potential of nearly 3 million tons of this used cooking oil aggregation, and which can become a very good source of making sustainable aviation fuel with CO2 emission benefits as well as cost benefits. So for aggregation of waste cooking oil, we have been also working on this biodiesel program, which is called a new technology, a room temperature biodiesel technology, where we can produce biodiesel in a small areas, like even in the small villages, and this will help in basically augmenting the overall used cooking oil supply chain. And in the raw biogas, we have a technology on improving the biogas quality using our own vacuum pressure sink adsorption technology, where we can produce compressed biogas of pipeline quality. And in addition, because aggregation of biomass itself is a issue, we have developed a biomass pyrolyzer technology where this biomass can be converted into bio-oil on site using this technology, and can be used for the production of bio-oil, which can be used for the supply of energy in the rural as well as in less accessible areas where transport of fuel will be difficult, as well as we produce this soil enriching char from this technology. And in addition, this bio-oil produced from biomass can be combined along with bitumen for pavement of the roads, and this can have an additional way of utilizing the bio-oil produced from biomass. And as we talk about this conversion of biomass into gas, such as CO2 or syngas, we have a technology where this CO2 or syngas can be converted to methanol. And by this way, we can have a conversion of gaseous feed obtained from biomass into liquid fuels. So these are the glimpses of the some of the technologies that we have developed, and we think that with Japan we can work closely on some of the technologies, especially as mentioned earlier on the feedstock supply chain for SAF, as well as for conversion of this kind of gaseous feedstocks into liquid fuel using e-fuel technology. And in addition, we have some dual fuel engine technology for stationary generators, where this gas from natural gas as well as biomass derived gases can be combined along with the diesel to reduce overall the particulate matter and as well as smoke and NOx emissions. So these kind of technological interventions can be taken together along with the Japan, and we look forward that we can work together on these newer technologies to make these biomass derived fuels a reality for our country as well as other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Next, I would like to request Dr. Sangeeta M. Kastur, scientist, advisor, Bioenergy, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India to make remarks virtually. 続きまして、インド新エネルギー再生エネルギー省バイオエネルギーアドバイザーサイエンティストサンギータ・カスチャー博士よりオンラインでご講演いただきます。
Thank you. Good afternoon and good evening. I hope I am audible. Am I audible? Okay, thank you. So, His Excellency Mr. C.P. George, Ambassador of India, Japan, and Yoki DG Natural Resources, Methi, my colleagues from CSR and Ministry of Petroleum, and also the participants. It's very pleasure to be part of this India-Japan collaboration and exploring cooperation in various areas. So, as you know, I am representing Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which has been playing a very important role in pushing the renewable energy in terms of solar as well as wind, hydrogen, small hydro projects, as well as bioenergy. So, and bioenergy plays very important and a pivotal role in achieving both energy transition as well as achieving the net zero goals, which provides a sustainable alternative solution to fossil fuels. The modern bioenergy in the form of heat and electricity forms the largest renewable energy source globally, which comprises almost 55% of all renewable energy and over 12% of global energy supply, which is, as mentioned, reported by International Energy Agency. And India too has a large potential for bioenergy. Our Ministry New and Renewable Energy has estimated the current availability of biomass in India at about 750 million metric tons per year, out of which almost 230 billion metric tons, which is surplus, and which can be converted and utilized for either compressed biogas, bio-CNG, or power. There is a potential above almost 28 gigawatt of power, which can be converted using the pellets briquette and for industrial use. In addition, India has about 14 gigawatt of potential of biogas-based cogeneration capacity. So far, bioenergy projects ministry has supported more than 10.8 gigawatt of projects capacity in the country. And apart from this, more than 50 lakh small biogas plant, which could be of 1 to 2 to 5 cubic meter, which have been set up, which are used mostly for the cooking purposes at household level. The modern biofuels like pellet, briquette, bio-CNG, etc., these offer significant potential for decarbonization of industry as well as transportation sector, and they are instrumental in aiming energy independence by reducing reliance on fossil fuels. In addition, they also contribute to lowering carbon emissions, thus aiding in mitigating climate change. To address the decarbonization in sectors such as transport and industry, the biofuels can play a very crucial role. They offer a viable alternate solution to conventional fossil fuels and in turn helps in reducing GHG emissions and improving overall air quality index. In this case, small-scale biogas also has an important role to play in taking the clean energy transition closer to communities and enabling citizens to adopt sustainable life practices of managing and their own by managing their own waste and utilizing this for resource sustainability. With new and improved biogas technologies and business models, it is becoming now easier than ever to adopt these systems not only in rural communities but also in urban states as well. This we are very confident that scaling up bioenergy market aligned with the goals of just an equitable energy transition will definitely benefit the all segments of society, and this also useful by leveraging the potential of bioenergy in India that can not only address its energy security concerns but also create a more inclusive and sustainable energy ecosystem for the future. India's commitment to fostering global cooperation in the bioenergy sector underscores its proactive approach towards sustainable development and climate action. By leveraging modern bioenergy applications and embracing circular economy principles, India aims to address pressing energy and environmental challenges while creating economic opportunities and enhancing resilience in rural communities. In order to promote bioenergy, Ministry has notified the National Bioenergy Program in November 2022, wherein there is a provision of financial assistance to the project developers. So there is a slide which is displayed, so which has three components: the waste to energy, biomass, as well as biogas. Till inception of this scheme, MNRE has supported 37 number of bio-CNG projects, 22 biomass-based densification projects, and 1,600 small and medium-sized biogas plants in India. Apart from this, Ministry is also having provision of supporting biomass to hydrogen projects under National Green Hydrogen Mission, which is an ambitious program of Government of India. I am hoping with more detailed deliberations today, we all will get a fair idea on the importance of bioenergy future in Indian context, with a clear focus on becoming a new energy self-reliant India with an ample business opportunities and with a conducive business environment in all RE sectors. I once again thank, and there are ample of opportunities for collaboration, both bilateral as multilateral, as mentioned by my colleagues. So in the case of biofuels as well as the biogas, that is particularly CNG, where compressed biogas is the complementary scheme of MNRE with the Ministry of Petroleum. So I once again congratulate the Embassy of India in Japan and organizing this meaningful event and connecting the Japanese industries and ministries, etc., with Indian relevant and important organizations. I look forward to continued collaboration with India and Japan in various areas, and MNRE look forward to work together with Indian colleagues. With this, I would stop here and thank you very much once again for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation. Lastly, may I request Mr. Kaustav Chaturvedi, Assistant Manager, Invest India, to make a presentation virtually. 最後に、Invest India アシスタントマネージャー、カウスタブ・チャトルレジ様よりオンラインでご講演いただきます。
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope my screen is visible. Yes. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone.
My name is Kaustubh Chaturvedi, and I'll be presenting opportunities in biofuels in India on behalf of Invest India. So before I begin with talking about the biofuel sector, I just wanted to give an outline of the fastest growing large economy in the world right now, that is our India. And in 2023, we overtook UK to become the fifth largest economy. That is, and we have shown a record growth of 7.2% for the year 2022-23. In the last 76 years of democracy, our GDP has grown 100 times, while our exports have risen 600 times. We target to be the third largest economy by 2027-28, and in the journey of since our independence, we target 25% of the global energy growth between 2020 and 2040 will come from us. The most important point about biofuel sector that is that 100% FDI through automatic route is allowed by the government of India in the sector. Now, a bit about the India's biofuels landscape. In 2018, Government of India had announced National Biofuels Policy, which envisages to increase biofuel consumption. The policy allowed production of ethanol from diverse feedstocks such as CNB, heavy molasses, sugarcane juice, agricultural residue, starch-containing material amongst others. It also encompasses bio-CNG as a transportation fuel. Talking about ethanol blended petrol, the ethanol blending in petrol increased from 1.5% 10 years ago in 2014 to 12% in 2023, that is last year. We are the third largest oil consumer globally, and as the demand for oil increases, demand for ethanol will also increase. In terms of compressed biogas, we target to raise the share of natural gas in the energy mix to 15% by 2030 from about 6% right now, while the government has indicated sustainable aviation fuel blending target of 1% in 2027 and 2% in 2028 for international flights. Furthermore, 5% indicative biodiesel target is set by the government for 2030. Ethanol, the success story of India. Ethanol has been a priority for our government. It helps to increase farmers' income, reduce emissions, and reduce dependency on imported crude oil. In June 2022, we achieved 10% ethanol blending, 5 months ahead of schedule. Therefore, we have advanced our 20% ethanol blending in petrol from 2030 to 2025-26. Ethanol blended in petrol increased from 380 million in 2013-2014 to 5 billion liters in 2023. In the year 2019, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana was launched, providing viability gap funding for 2G ethanol plants with an outlay of approximately $240 million, which is up to 18.08 million per plant. By 2025, at 20% blending level, ethanol demand will increase to 10.1 billion liters from current 5.08 billion liters in 2022-23. There are some major industry players in ethanol sector are Fortum, Indian Oil, Suzuki, and Toyota. Through national policy on biofuels and sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, that is SATAT initiative, the government has been promoting the use of compressed biogas across India. Today, 98% of the population for the development of city gas distribution network, and it currently meets 48% of the demand by import. Government has come up with waste to energy program where the central financial assistance for compressed biogas plants is 10 crores rupees 10 crores per plant, which is approximately $1.2 million. The CGD-CBG synchronization scheme allows commingling of CBG generated under the SATAT scheme with the natural gas in the city gas distribution network. In addition, some state governments have also come up with specific biofuel policies for incentivizing the sector. As of now, 52 CBG plants have been commissioned and 2,210 active letters of intent have been signed with oil and gas marketing companies for setting up of compressed biogas plants. The government has announced the mandatory blending of compressed biogas in CNG transport, that compressed natural gas transport and PNG domestic segments of the city gas distribution sector. CBO will be voluntary till fiscal year 24-25, and mandatory blending obligation starts from the year 2025-26. The target is to establish 15,000 tons per day CBG capacity by the year 2026. This will lead to the establishment of 750 CBG projects by the year 2028-29. The total on the right, you can see the map of India, which shows the surplus biomass available in India. The total biomass potential in India is estimated to be 754.5 million tons against 54 crops selected for the study, including rice, wheat, maize, and sugarcane. 2/3 of the total biomass produced, that is 525.98 million tons, is utilized for domestic purposes and other purposes, resulting in 1/3 of the total biomass produced, that is 230 million tons in surplus biomass, which is available across the country. The map, you can see that the major states such as Punjab, Gujarat, UP, Maharashtra, and MP are showing the major surplus biomass availability. Our government has taken steps to introduce and promote sustainable aviation fuel in the future. India has a feedstock for the potential production of 19 to 24 million tons of sustainable aviation fuel per year. Initial indicative blending percentages, as mentioned earlier, for SAF in aviation turbine fuel is 1% blending target in 2027 for international flights and 2% in 2028 for initially for the international flights. SAF is part of 13 activities that have been finalized to be considered for the trading of carbon credits under bilateral or cooperative approaches under Article 6.2 of the Paris Agreement Rulebook. Some upcoming major projects are Mangalore Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited is planning to build a bio-ATF plant at Mangalore. Indian Oil Corporation Limited has planned an 86.8 TMTPA plant at Panipat using LanzaJet ATJ, alcohol to jet technology. IOCL has also signed an MOU with Pune-based Praj Industries to set up a plant for developing ATJ fuels. I just want to talk a little bit about Invest India as well. So we work at the intersection of government and industry. So we are the first point of contact for anyone looking to enter Indian market, and we handhold the investors through their investment journey. For investor support, in 2020, the government had set up ministries and departments called Project Development Cell with different ministries. The PDC of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas aims to enhance the investment-friendly ecosystem that strongly supports investments in the oil and gas sector. The key activities are investment promotion, fast-track project implementation, and forward project bottlenecks to the empowered groups of secretaries for attracting and finalizing investment. Under the PDC framework, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, along with Invest India, is working to support and facilitate investors. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Now we will conclude the event on exploring cooperation in bioenergy, India-Japan collaboration, Global Biofuel Alliance today. 以上をもちまして、本日のイベント、バイオエネルギーにおける協力関係を探る日印協力グローバルバイオ燃料アライアンスを終了とさせていただきます。ご参加いただきましてありがとうございました。Thank you very much for your participation. We will have a networking session with tea and refreshment at the foyer. We hope you will join us. You may exchange cards and interact each other. この後、軽食付きのネットワーキングセッションをこの会場を出てすぐのホイヤーで開催いたしますので、皆様ぜひご参加ください。名刺交換の場としてご活用いただけましたらと思います。Thank you very much for your participation today.